Judge Michael Albus. I'm the chairperson of the committee, but the minutes are approved unanimously. The next item of business is the possible removal of individuals from the list of persons qualified to serve as a guardian ad litem or attorney for the minor child. And as we've discussed at past meetings, under our procedures, when there is a complaint by a litigant seeking the removal, or by any appropriate party, seeking the removal of a guardian ad litem or attorney for the minor child from our statewide list of those eligible to serve in that position, that complaint is deemed confidential unless and until there's a determination by this committee that there is probable cause for the complaint. And our procedure calls for the appointment of a two-person probable cause committee to investigate and make a recommendation to the full committee. And its deliberations are also confidential unless and until there is a determination of probable cause. So at this point in the meeting, we typically would consider a motion to enter executive session to consider. There are two complaints for the committee to consider this month after hearing from the probable cause panels. And it would be appropriate for there to be a motion to enter executive session for that purpose and to invite our committee staff, if appropriate, to join us in that session. Is there such a motion? Yes.
Just a question before we do that. So one of the two cases is a case that's pending in this district that has post-judgment matters that are open and currently pending and are going to be heard later this month, actually. And I haven't touched it since the GAL was appointed, but obviously, as you know, particularly in Tolland, at any time, any judge could be asked to hear the case. So I was thinking it's probably appropriate for me to recuse myself from that matter. And since I'm still somewhat new, I can't recall whether it's appropriate. I think it's probably appropriate for me not to even hear or participate or be present during the discussion. So I wasn't sure the best way to handle that.
All right. And do you happen to know, Judge Maczarowski, the number of the complaint? We have two complaints, 21-0009 and 21-0010. Do you happen to know which of those?
The 0009.
All right. So let me ask, is it possible if we were to begin the executive session without Judge Maczarowski, discuss that matter, is there a way to communicate to her when she can re-enter for the remainder of it? Maybe someone could text her
or would it be easier or possible to sort of take them out of order, do the first one, and when we're done, or do the second one, then when we're done with that, I could simply leave.
Right, but then we'd still have to let you know when you can come back into the public session.
True.
Judge, I can either through the chat feature send a message to Judge Maczarowski, or at worst case scenario, I can send her an email.
All right. Then before I entertain a motion, let me also ask the staff members who are present, including our legal counsel, just to identify yourselves for the record, starting with you, Damon.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Damon Goldstein. I'm a program manager in the Family Support Matters Unit and support staff to this committee.
My name is Michael Bowler. I'm the statewide bar counsel, but I am also counsel to this standing committee.
Attorney Jennifer Gagas, also with the Bar Counsel's Office and counsel, assisting Attorney Bowler with this committee.
All right, then to summarize, I think the best way to do this would be to have a motion to enter executive session on both those matters. We will take them out of order so that we discuss first the one that Judge Maczarowski does not have a recusal from. We will then ask her to sign out and we'll discuss the other one. And when we resume public session, someone will let her know she should sign back in. That makes sense to everybody?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Then is there a motion to enter executive session with our staff to discuss the two complaints?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, then at this time, we will enter executive session. Brittany, are you able to hear me? All right, so we are back in public session. We are awaiting the return of Judge Maturowski, who had excused herself from the portion of the executive session concerning the complaint that she wished to recuse herself from. So we'll wait for her to come back on.
Okay, here, I'm going to try and do this through Teams, so here goes nothing.
Okay.
All right, I am back. Thank you, Damon.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, we're back in public session, and at this time, it'd be appropriate to consider first complaint number 21-0009. Is there a motion on that matter with respect to the probable cause panel's recommendation?
I make a motion that the complaint be dismissed.
Is there a second?
Second?
And Judge Albus, just for the record, before the vote, as I did recuse myself from this matter, I will abstain from the vote.
All right. Let me ask Attorney Bowler or Gagosh, would the correct phrasing of the motion to be to make a finding of no probable cause and dismiss the complaint?
The finding would be to adopt the recommendation of the two-member probable cause panel and to dismiss the complaint.
Right. Attorney Caffarelli, would you wish to rephrase your motion in that manner?
Yes, I would. I make a motion to adopt the recommendation of the probable cause panel.
And for the full committee to, and for the full standing committee to dismiss the complaint.
There we go.
Okay. All right.
I got it right the first time. I was worried about it now.
I'm sorry,
And,
Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. It's all legalese.
Did whoever seconded the motion originally also wish to second the motion?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
I'm
One abstention. Oh,
I
two.
think we have two abstentions, Attorney Rakic Kelly and Judge Maturowski. The motion is adopted. The next complaint is 21-0010. Is there a motion with regard to the probable cause panel's recommendation in this matter?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll move to adopt the recommendations of the probable cause panel and dismiss the complaint.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Great, the motion is adopted unanimously with no abstentions. The next item on our list of our agenda is changes to the list of persons qualified to serve as guardian ad litem, attorney for the minor child. And I believe, Damon, we have one request for reinstatement to the list. Is that right? You are on mute, Damon.
Sorry, I was pulling up the complaint. My apologies. That's correct. There's one request. And that would be from Attorney Cheryl Shaughnessy. Attorney Shaughnessy was removed from the list back in January of 2020. She's requesting reinstatement to the list. She offers her apologies and missing the annual email for requesting updated information, which is why she was removed. She states that she has served as a GAL and AMC for more than 20 years. Again, she mentioned that her name was removed from the list inadvertently. And she certifies that she is an attorney in good standing, does not have a criminal record, does not appear on the DCF Central Registry. She mentioned, although it was not required, that she's received extensive training and continuing legal education, and that she was willing to accept cases on the sliding fee scale.
Is there a motion to restore Attorney Shaughnessy to the active list?
I'll move to restore Attorney Shaughnessy to the active list.
Thank you, Attorney Rackich Kelly. Is there a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Hamilton. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously, and Attorney Shaughnessy is restored. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and possible approval of a process for persons to complete the required guardian ad litem pre-service training by viewing the recordings of the most recent training program. And I believe I'll ask Attorney Rackich Kelly first. This item was placed on the agenda as a result of a situation that she encountered. So I'll let her speak first, and then we'll follow that with any discussion or questions.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, every year there is a fellowship that's offered to recent law school graduates, allowing them to work at a nonprofit legal aid and to be paid through the fellowship instead of coming out of our budget. And every year we're not able to apply for this kind of fellow to work for us because they have to have completed the training, and so they don't have the qualifications to accept cases. This year the fellowship has come around again. One of our certified legal interns is applying, and if she's offered the fellowship, she would have to receive the training, which I don't believe we're going to be putting one on in the next year. So I'm asking the committee to consider allowing her and others similarly situated to be able to do the training through the recordings from our last training that we did just last year.
All right, thank you. Any discussion?
If I could, Your Honor, so I know this issue in part had come up last year when we were in the process of putting together the agenda for the training and the format. And I think the standing committee had thought it would be prudent to try to record the sessions so that we could potentially, as needed, use those recordings as a vehicle for people to be certified as having attended the training in between, training sessions. Because I don't anticipate we will, as Justine mentioned, I don't think we'll be doing the training in this coming year, just because I don't think there's likely going to be a demand for it. So in looking at the practice book doesn't preclude us. We can administer the training. We have typically done it in our annual or biannual, application process, and people have registered and they've done it that way. So from my perspective, I wouldn't be opposed to having a process that would allow for individuals to be deemed to have attended the training. We'd have to sort of, I guess, talk about, maybe the training committee could meet about this. How would we announce that, and what would be the process so that it would be available to anybody who would be interested in doing that in off years? And then the only other thing I would add is I would need to check to see if all of the sessions from the last curriculum, if they were all videotaped, or I think that they all were. And if one of them was not, it was probably user error on my part. But there might be one session that we might have to think about either redoing and videotaping, or coming up with an alternative way of ensuring that the individuals who might want to do this actually attended the full 20 hours. So in concept, I wouldn't be opposed to the idea. We would just have to make sure that we standardize the eligibility for attending it and making sure that the notice of that opportunity would be available on the website like we usually do in terms of announcing it to other folks who might not otherwise be aware. So that I would add that.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion or questions?
So, Susan, you kind of hit on some of my questions, I guess, which one was whether the recordings were both audio and video. I do think having sort of standards for eligibility, and then how do we confirm that they in fact listened to or watched all of it and didn't just, have it running in the background while they were doing other things. So assuming you can address some of those concerns, I think in concept, it's a good idea, would expand access to the training and therefore hopefully expand, eligibility to serve. So assuming those things could be addressed, I think it's a good idea.
Any other questions or comments? Let's assume for the moment that everything was in fact recorded. And I know we did, in anticipation of this request coming someday, or just being able to offer it ourselves, even before we did the training, we talked about the value of having it recorded so that we might do something like this. Attorney Hamilton, it's your office, right, that by rule is responsible to administer the training?
Right.
And,
right.
and
It says, I'm sorry, Your Honor, the administration of it, and then it's in collaboration with this group, in consultation with whatever the language is. But yes, so I mean, sorry, I was jumping into answering your question without hearing the whole thing of it.
You probably guessed the question, which is, what do you believe would be an appropriate process if you're administering it? I assume you don't want to have someone from your office have to sit next to someone as they take the video training. Is there some ideas you have about how we can ensure that in fact the person who says they took the training did it, and to make some kind of a certification to you?
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking that way, Your Honor. First, to see if there would be an automated way of verifying through logging in and logging out. I know that doesn't 100% address the issue of whether they're, engaged and actually participating when they're logged in. So there's some limitations to that. But I would want to check with our folks here first to see if there's an IT, way of making that as reliable as possible. And then I would think we would want to also have I understand it is self-certifying, but some type of a certification that verifies, that the entire curriculum, and we can specify in the form itself that they're self-certifying that they did in fact attend that. And we can come up with a language, we can bring it to the full committee. But so I think those two things would be important components for us to feel comfortable reporting to the standing committee that they've completed the training. And the only last quick thing I would say is that the last training curriculum did, as a reminder, include some reading assignments. So I think those that were part of the 20 hours homework, so to speak. So we would also need to have them self-certify that they read the materials and completed the homework. So there are some details we'd have to work out, but I think we do rely on some self-certifications in other areas of requirements. So I think that, coupled with somehow being able to verify that they logged in and logged out and stayed in the presentation for the requisite amount of time, I think that could provide us with some comfort that they've complied.
As to the readings, even for those who attended live by video, did we have to accept their self-certification as to the readings anyway?
Same, yes, Your Honor. I mean, that was sort of built into the.
That wouldn't be new. It would just be them, instead of checking in with us or us being able to see that they were online, we would be accepting their certification.
Yes.
Attorney Rackets Kelly, did you have any other thoughts or suggestions on how this might work?
I don't. I'm sorry. I wish I had a bright idea. I think the biggest issue is whether or not people are actually going to stay on and watch all of the 20 hours. of video that we put together. I mean, individually, you know, we'll be training this person and mentoring them for a number of months before they would take any cases on their own. But I know that we have had this conversation in the past about singling out the law center and why that's not a good idea. So I'm not asking for that, just for an ability to be able to hire when the need arises and not have to wait for our training.
I agree, and I think, as Attorney Hamilton pointed out, part of this will be advertising to the public that this opportunity is there. And I guess what we as a committee should think about is whether we're as comfortable with the self-certification when it's not someone who is under the supervision of somebody like the Children's Law Center. I think whatever rules we make have to work for everybody. And I personally am fine with the self-certification. This is going to be someone who's either an attorney or an attorney-to-be with some ethical responsibilities, or a mental health professional with some ethical responsibilities. So I don't have an issue with that, but let me ask the committee as a whole, if it's a program based solely on self-certification plus whatever IT safeguards we can introduce to confirm the person really did watch the whole video. Does anyone have any concerns or comments or questions? All right, well then the next thing, I guess, is to decide whether, and Attorney Hamilton, this may be a question really for you, is this something that we as a committee just want to approve now and leave it to the Office of the Public Defender to set the details on how it's to be done in a reliable way? Or does the committee want to hear back all the details on how it might happen? What are your thoughts, Attorney Hamilton?
Sure. I'll, whatever the committee thinks would be best. If this would be helpful, I'm not sure when our next meeting would be, but I could certainly just put together our small training committee again, just to kind of flesh out the details of it and provide some additional information, and then report back. I don't know if there's a we can talk offline if necessary. I don't know if there's a time limitation or urgency to getting this posted before our next meeting, but either way would be fine. I'm comfortable working out the details, but if folks would feel more comfortable with knowing what will be posted on because it does ultimately get posted on the standing committee's webpage along with our website. So, but I'm comfortable with whatever Your Honor and the committee would prefer.
All right, well, Attorney Rackets-Kelly, this was your proposal to start with. If we had to have one more meeting of the committee to.
I don't know the answer. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I know this is a fellowship through the Connecticut Bar Foundation, and I know that they're currently in the process of interviewing the applicants. The applicant that identified our organization was accepted and is now in the process of interviewing. I don't know how long that process will take, so that if we can't find a way to get this done, if she withdraws after they've already closed, I don't know what kind of hardship that will create for the Bar Foundation to have to reopen the application process and start again, assuming they chose her, because there's only one fellowship. And so I don't know the answer to the timeline that they're under.
Well, would the committee be comfortable approving this in principle and authorizing? I mean, it's really up, I think, under the practice book. Once we've approved the curriculum, which we have, I think it's, if I'm remembering the wording of the rule correctly, it's up to the Office of the Chief Public Defender to administer it. And I don't know that we have to approve every detail of how they administer it. So if we're comfortable with the concept and approve this as a video / self-certification program to be administered by the Chief Public Defender as far as whatever details they see fit, that might allow us to offer it to anyone who wants to do it sooner. We could still ask Attorney Hamilton to bring us up to date at the next meeting as to what was done, and I'm sure she would entertain suggestions as to tweaks in the future. But I think we have a consensus from just the discussion that this makes sense. It's something we had expected and planned to do at some point. And for lack of IT details about whether we can monitor somebody or not, maybe it doesn't warrant holding the whole idea up, but just having a follow-up meeting to talk about how it was implemented and whether we need to tweak it. Attorney Hamilton, would you be comfortable with that as on behalf of the Chief Public Defender's Office?
I would be fine with that, Your Honor.
Any questions or comments on that suggestion?
No, I would agree and with Your Honor, and I think this makes a lot of sense to proceed in this fashion.
Steve? You're on mute.
Unmute yourself. Yeah, no, I'm good. I think it's a great concept, and it could probably, hopefully, bring in more people.
Liza?
I'm good with it. Yep.
Judge Maszorowski?
Yeah, I support the idea.
All right. I think it makes sense. We had a long period of time where a lot of people, I think, wanted to take the training and we weren't offering it. We have the ability now to make it generally available, especially in this world where so much more is done virtually than when we first talked about this. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I ask someone to maybe put into the form of a simple motion, my long-winded suggestion.
So I'll move that the committee approve the development of a remote training program that allows applicants to take the training through recordings and to self-certify that they have taken it and completed it and done the reading, and that we approve that in concept with, and that Attorney Hamilton and her office can proceed to implement that with a report back at the next opportunity.
Thank you. Well, much better put than I said it. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Well, then that motion is approved.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And certainly, Attorney Hamilton, if you chose to want to have a meeting of the subcommittee just to discuss some ideas, even though you may not have to come back to the full committee before implementing, that's certainly an option for you, but you don't need to. You have the authority, and we'll hear later how it went.
Of course, no, I appreciate that, Your Honor. And if there are, if
Thank
any
you.
of the committee members have any things that they think of later that they want to make sure we incorporate into the process, certainly just reach out, let me know, and we'll be happy to do that. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. The next item is the approval of the list of persons qualified to serve as a GAL/AMC for 2022. Damon, this is the annual updating of the list based on the responses that you received. Is that right?
It is, Judge. Emails were sent out to all the members of the active list on or about the 15th of November, asking them to comply with this year's requirement to keep us updated as far as their remaining in good standing, as far as their licensure status, whether it's with Statewide Grievance Committee or with the Department of Public Health, as well as the fact that they don't have a criminal record or appear on the DCF Central Registry. A reminder email was also sent out on the 3rd of December. The deadline to respond to the email was the 17th. Responses have been compiled, and we are ready to publish an updated list with the committee's approval. There of the approximately 202 individuals on the list, I think we heard from all, but I think about 14 or 15 this year.
All right, any questions for Damon about the list or how it was compiled? Then is there a motion to approve the updated list as described by Damon and authorize its publication and distribution to the courts?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any
Second.
Caparelli seconds? Any further discussion? All in favor, signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries unanimously, and Damon, you can send out the list. Thank you for all your work on this.
So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, and that brings us to schedule of future meetings. So do we want to stick with the Monday afternoon at 2 p.m.? Does that tend to work well for people, or is there a better option?
Yeah.
See a lot of heads nodding, so why don't we stick with that? It seems to have worked. Let me ask the committee staff if they're aware of any issues other than the norm that might dictate how soon we meet. We usually go about 3 months between meetings. Is there something that we know of that may come up sooner?
We only have one pending complaint, and it was just filed, Your Honor. So there's no immediacy on that from our perspective.
Right, and I've just received that complaint, so some of you will be getting a request from me to be on the probable cause committee soon. Damon, do you know of anything that would warrant a sooner meeting than three months or so from now?
Not that I'm aware of, Judge, no.
So are there any Mondays in April? I know for some there are school vacations in April that may affect availability. But the closest to 3 months from today would be probably Monday, April 25th. Is that an issue for anyone?
Works for me.
It works for me.
All right, and let's assume we still do it virtually, because if we didn't, that might affect people's ability. And who knows, maybe we, well, that's a discussion for another day, whether we go back to in-person meetings or not. We are sort of scattered around the state. So I think in some ways, as nice as it is to get together in person, there are some advantages to being able to do it this way. But for now, why don't we schedule then the next meeting for Monday, April 25th at 2:00 p.m. virtually.
Judge, that'll just be subject to the availability of the live stream. If there's an issue, I'll let everybody know.
All right. All right, then any other matters to come before the committee today that anyone wishes to raise? Right, then is there a motion to adjourn?
I move
So
to
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you all for your work, especially the probable cause committee members for their work on the complaints, and Attorney Hamilton for her thoughts and her future work on the new initiative to offer the recorded programs. Thank you all. We will adjourn the meeting at this time. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.